Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're joined by Callum Sommerton, newly appointed Chief Executive Officer of Chill Brands. Welcome, Callum. I guess congratulations are in order.
Thanks, Phil and Kevin. Yeah, it's certainly been a bit of a ride, but yeah, glad to now be announced and to get my feet under the desk and start working.
We know a little bit about your background in, I believe, litigation, financing, and qualified as a lawyer. Do you want to give investors some insight into your background and credentials, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out with a law degree. I'm pretty young, so qualified there in 2017. I went into litigation finance, where we were, creating big ticket financing for major lawsuits and class actions. I then moved into intellectual property law at Mishcon de Rea and worked there on regulation, on brand protection and trademarking, which you'll see will be important for Chill as we try to protect our brands. And then left law predominantly because I wanted to build brands and companies rather than just advise them. So I set up a couple of companies of my own. One of those was a brand consultancy business, advising listed and unlisted companies in Germany, Australia, and the UK who wanted to raise seed funding, get their narrative straight, and build a business that was compelling to investors. I also got very lucky. I set up a property technology business that was effectively doing 360 tours of homes. And fortunately for me, but unfortunately for all of us, really, the pandemic then hit. And so that business started performing. So that's my background in a nutshell. I then started up with Chill in summer of 2020 as an advisor, providing some intellectual property support. Found myself winding ever closer in, and that brings us relatively neatly up to today and the appointment.
So we obviously also saw news that Antonio and Trevor have changed roles within there, and obviously the obvious board changes. It seems that the company's going for a new ambitious forward-looking strategy as detailed in the RNS. Can you maybe give the shareholders a taste of what may be to come, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So more of this will follow in a comprehensive statement. But really what we're going to try to do with Chill is recalibrate the way that we look at our distribution channels and our retail. So retail is still fundamental for us, regardless of the fact that we have turned our attention to e-commerce. We're going to be focusing on sell-through rates. We're going to be focusing on getting ourselves into stores, but not just signing the deal, actually following up with display stands, merchandising, all of the good stuff that keeps you in the retailer's good books, but also attracts in new consumers. That's our plan on retail. With e-commerce, our investors can expect to see a greater focus on commercializing the chill.com domain, making it as good as it possibly can be for users who are looking to buy Chill smokes, pouches, gummies, but also finding new ways to unlock its potential and start earning revenue ultimately.
Congratulations anyway, Callum. As we discussed before we started the interview, you must be one of the youngest CEOs, as in 26 years old, on the main market of the UK. So congratulations for that. It's quite an achievement. And you've got quite a challenge ahead of you, I think. Ultimately, we've got the, how can we explain it? We've got the picture of the Mont Blanc, I think, for the share price in this particular stock. We were down here a couple of years ago, and we went all the way up the mountain to £1 and then all the way back down again to 5p. So he marched them up to the top of the hill and then he marched them back down again. So How are you going to affect the change that takes this company back to the top of that hill and beyond, I hope?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing to say is that we are so much further ahead now with our internal infrastructure, with the way the company's set up now at 4p than we ever were at £1.8. And so that's an important kind of point to note. Progress has been made. I think, when the share price got up to those lofty heights, we were looking at store counts, we were looking at sell-through, and we were doing our own calculations on what that would mean for the business's revenue. That's what it all has to come back to now, is nuts and bolts of selling products, doing everything we can to pave a way to reliable revenues and showing the market that the business has underlying fundamentals that make a decent investment case. And on that note, a lot of it comes back to communications. When you're on the public market, you're there because you need to rely on your investors in some way or another. And that's exactly, what we've done in the past. But we haven't paid that forward with open communications, We haven't shown them the courtesy that they deserve on regular updates and numbers at the end of the day. That's what we want to be providing. And if you look at some of our competitors elsewhere in the UK market, a single RNS with some good news can significantly elevate your share price. We've just got to be more open. And that's the only way to pave the way to success in public markets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've had to basically be a mushroom to be a shareholder of Chill or Zoetic in the last year and a half. So I openly say I have been a mushroom, but I still believed in the process, even though Phil thought I was incredibly crazy at most of the time. But this whole area, when we talk about CBD, and even moving forward to cannabis, medical cannabis, recreational cannabis, this whole area has been rocketed and then battered.
Yeah.
In terms of the stock market. Okay. Obviously, all of these companies, or not all, but a majority of them have been progressing, but the share prices have been tanking. So do you see that overall as an industry that can start to change? There's obviously going to be winners and losers, yeah.
There will be winners and losers. I think what really needs to change, as I said at the start, is that we're past the stage of just marketing CBD and people buying it because it's an attractive compound and it's an exciting 3-letter word. You've got to make a use case for it, and you've got to do that in a way that doesn't tread on the toes of the regulators with health claims. That's what Chill will be doing. But ultimately, this is a company, it's at the intersection of several rapidly growing industries. You've got the functional products, things like CBD. You can look at CBN, CBG, caffeine. There's lots of other compounds that we can explore and diversify. We've also got tobacco alternatives such as TFN. And if you wrap all of that together into an attractive brand that's accessible, that's engaging, that's when you start to see traction. Ultimately, you start to get brand recognition, consumer interest in your company. And that's what will move the needle for us on revenues. There is a lot of work for us to do on the brand, the products, and the customer experience, but we're getting ourselves onto a better track now. And I think Chill is differentiated to any other player in the space because the beauty of it is right there in the name. Chill is the antithesis of stress. And I think, our consumers could do with that, and our shareholders could certainly do with that.
You need to send a free bottle of CBD oil to every shareholder.
Yes.
I think Lavelle Foods, the whole FSA thing hasn't helped as well with a lot of these companies. They've created so much uncertainty and delay. It was meant to be approved by March, then it was moved, and then it was like, oh my word, when is it ever going to be announced? And then even now they're only announcing in dribs and drabs and on a site, and it's been a disaster.
It has. And I think, novel foods was meant to be an exercise in regulating the market, making it more credible so consumers could go out and buy products that they trust. To a level, they have achieved that, but they've made a real mess of it along the way. It's the goalposts have continued to move. For companies, that's been really difficult because, for the past 2 years or longer now, we've not been able to innovate within that space. There are people who are now kind of falling foul of those rules and trying to fight their case, and good luck to them as well. Chill, we're lucky that all of the products that are relevant to novel foods in the UK are now at least on the pending list, and we're expecting those to be approved, in due course. I wouldn't want to give a timescale because anything with a regulator can go awry. But yeah, it has been a real stopper on innovation. And as soon as that can lift, the sooner we can start, creating products again, ultimately.
Yeah, because there was a distribution sign, in the UK to get Zoetic out there.
Yeah, absolutely. There was. And the difficulty there is that you've got to be on the list for that distribution to kick in. And that is the prerogative of the distributor. We understand that. But we're now, getting on for 2 years down the line from that deal being signed, or however long it's now been. And that ultimately puts strain on the commerciality of any kind of agreement. We absolutely want to be out there in the UK market. I want it to be that our investors can drive to a shop near them and find Zoetic and Chill products on sale. But the reality of CBD is, if you're a retailer and you're concerned about putting products on your shelves that could be pulled the week after, we need guarantees. I think we're starting to get that from the regulator now. We're starting to see progress, but we're not quite over the hill yet.
Okay, so this podcast, as we talked about it initially, was really to introduce yourself. Yes, a little bit about the company, But really, going forward in the next few days, weeks, we're going to have more and more of these podcasts with yourself. We're hoping we're going to meet you in America when we're there as well. And we will see our story start to unfold, because this is what needs to happen. And, as a shareholder, I've been mega frustrated that effectively there hasn't been any of this communication. So this is a majorly good first step. Yes, the company needs many, many things. I think it's not a simple, oh, yes, welcome, Callum. Now let's increase the share price by tenfold. That's not going to happen. But it's not going to take a lot of revenues to move the dial here. It's not going to, because I think Chill is still very efficient in terms of how much money it spends on most things, from what I can understand. And the revenues should come if you start to focus properly on them. Is that a fair summation or not?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, there's a hard graft ahead of us. I think it's something that's very much worth fighting for at Chill. And you're right. This isn't a problem that's going to be solved overnight. I tweeted out today, first thing, shareholders can expect to see incremental change. The main thing they can expect to see is more communication, because we've got to give them an insight into what we're doing so they can have the confidence to buy at the end of the day. So yeah, a very fair summation that there is more to come on Chill, and it's a narrative I look forward to building.
Callum Sommerton, Chief Executive Officer of Chill Brands, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you, Kevin. Pleasure.
Thanks, Callum.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.